Musbau Damahab in Lome. Musbau, how?
Across the country, and what you have right now, just speculated results are flying over the social media, but trust you know that is not official. The official result is expected to be announced by the electoral body called Senate in 2 days' time, and after the announcement, that will be passed to the Constitution Court for sanctioning for final validation.
Yes, Musbau, you earlier reported of a fragile peace after an incident. What about that? Musbau, if you can hear me, you earlier reported on a fragile peace. What about that?
Indeed, the atmosphere was a bit charged across Lome last night after the election closed, and the information came through that security men were deployed to surround or cordon off the buildings of some presidential candidates from the opposition. Charged the air as people wanted to know what was really happening. But the ECOWAS election observation mission that has been on top of the situation got across to the defense minister, and they were assured that nothing really to fear about, that it was a preventive measure. That is in the word of the Minister of Defense now, that it was actually to prevent any possible crisis from the opposition. But as we speak across Lome now, it's peaceful as everyone is going about his or own business without any problem at all. But meanwhile, the observers of ECOWAS deployed across the country are now back in Lome. They have been debriefed earlier, and what is going to happen next will be the preliminary declaration by the ECOWAS election observation mission. But before that, coming up very soon this evening will be the meeting of heads of missions to compare notes as regarding the observation of the election.
All right, thank you, Musbau, for that update. We'll export more updates from there subsequently. That was Musbau Damahab in Lome. And back here, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says the federal government is targeting about $1 billion annually from artisanal mining if the sector is given the desired attention and support. The minister stated this in an interview ahead of the formal flag-off of the program in Yauri, Kebbi State. Anthony Forson reports that the Presidential Artisanal Gold Mining Development Initiative is a scheme designed by the federal government to help eradicate illegal mining and make the sector more formal.
And what this means that we are going to register all artisanal miners in Nigeria, take their biometrics, take their photographs, get their addresses, and then the federal government will now support them in the mining industry. This is the best way to eradicate illegal miners. And then whatever gold with the mine will be bought by the central bank. And we are very confident that with this new initiative, we'll be able to probably make over $1 billion alone in gold.
The minister explained that the pilot scheme has 2 states for the initial takeoff.
This pilot program will be in 2 states, in Osun and in Kebbi. In Kebbi, we are going to register about 3,000 artisanal miners, taking their biometrics, taking their details.
Was Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed talking to correspondent Anthony Forson earlier. Now, it will not be business as usual for Nigeria's broadcasting outfits, particularly owners of social media platforms, as the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, is coming up with the new regulations on content delivery. The NBC is also maintaining its stance on handing out stiff sanctions to any breach of the nation's broadcast code. The NBC Acting Director General Armstrong Idashaba says the Commission is also working with the federal government towards realization of the digital switchover before the end of 2020. Ulushe Adeago has details.
The broadcast industry is said to be critical to the realization of the economic potentials of a nation and building national cohesion. but inciting an unfair content on some platforms and social media is no doubt hampering the nation's integrity. Experts say it is also having a huge negative impact on the people, especially the nation's youths. With the recent presidential approval of the recommendations of the Reform Implementation Committee, the National Broadcasting Commission (NBC) is holding brief on some of its new reforms targeted at mandating owners of distribution platforms to ensure self-regulation and statutory provisions that will guard against harmful content.
Our broadcast stations have a responsibility to extol positive family values and promote a sound and morally built nation.
Responses from management staff of the Commission touched on measures already in place to meet the set date for the digital switchover and also efforts to ensuring that its activities at the state level are not compromised. For the NBC Director General and his team, the Commission remains committed to the ideas of promoting a responsible broadcast media, free and independent, serving at the pleasure of the Nigerian people. In Abuja, Oluseyi Adiagbo, NTA News.
Minister of State for Works and Housing Abubakar Aliyu has expressed displeasure and concern over the slow pace of work at the Section 1 of Kano-Maiduguri dualization project by the contracting firm. The minister, who paid an unscheduled visit to the site, said the federal government will not take it lightly, especially with funds being released to complete the road infrastructure. Mohammed Rabiu Ali reports.
Activity by activity, you are now doing artwork there. This is my gang for artwork. Yes.
This is the second time the Minister of State for Works and Housing, Abubakar Aliyu, is visiting the long-established project in less than a year. His concern is to address the complaints raised by motorists on the speedy completion of the bad portion of 13-kilometer Gaya-Wuli Road.
I want to urge them to push this work because this road is very, very important to the people here and to the nation because it's a major road linking Kano to Maiduguri. And the Gaya-Wudil section, they are not doing well there. So I have directed that they should increase men and machine on this stretch so that they link up Gaya and Wudil before continuing other areas. At the beginning of the project towards Wudil, they have done about 10 kilometers. They have finished complete 100%. And I commended them for that because they have done very well.
The minister also inspected Shuarin Gaya and Bridge 2 of Wudil interchange, urging the contractor to expedite action on the project to ease the hardship being faced by road users.
2 years there's been scoop funding and there's no reason why we cannot continue to work. This is kudos to the government of President Muhammadu Buhari. We have assured the minister that that very portion that he's talking about between Gaya and Wudil, we're going to put more efforts there to make sure before the rainy season starts, that place is motorable, so that he will have peace, we will also have peace, and the nation itself and the traveling public will also be happy.
The project, when completed, is expected not only to stand the test of time, but also contribute to the socio-economic development of the people in the area. Muhammad Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
Now, with 7 national parks located in states across the country, Nigeria has the capacity to explore economic gains through tourism. Support for this sector, as exemplified by the Taraba state government, is seen as a needed step to make tourist sites safe and attractive for all. Joseph Saundu reports.
Gashaka-Gunti National Park is Nigeria's largest wildlife park, covering an estimated area of over 6,402 kilometers square. The park, located in the eastern province of Taraba and Adamawa states, to the border with Cameroon, has been a tourist destination for many. The activities of bandits, hunters, woodloggers, and other security challenges have been a source of worry for authorities and tourism. To enable park rangers patrol and cover remote areas to checkmate security challenges, Taraba state government donated 3 motorcycles to the park.
Apart from
The motorcycles we want to hand over to the conservator today. He also requested that a bridge within the vicinity of the park should also be constructed. And communication gases also.
Conservator of the park, Mohammed Kabir, maintained lack of logistics is one of the major challenges the staff are facing, calling for sustenance of such partnership for preservation of the country's largest wildlife park.
This will enhance the capacity of the park rangers to effectively patrol the parks, thereby reducing the level of insecurity in these parks.
The conservator appreciated the state government and other security agencies for working assiduously to confront insecurity, adding that the park is now safer for tourists to visit. In Jalingo, Joseph Sound Utsen, NTA News.
Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola has reiterated the federal government's commitment towards providing housing to Nigerians irrespective of their socio-economic or political background. This was at the official commissioning of 150 housing units financed by the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria through the Gombe State Investment and Property Development Company. Zara Umar Adamu reports.
The commissioning of the housing project is an affirmation that the National Housing Fund scheme is meeting its mandate of delivering decent and affordable houses to Nigerians, especially those within the medium and low income bracket.
Thus caused the new approach of the bank, which aligns with your vision that houses must be constructed for specific profiled and identified off-takers ab initio. This is why we commend your direction to the promotion of the Cooperative Housing Development Initiative, where houses are built for members of cooperatives according to their designs, costings, and addresses the issue of affordability.
The Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Raji Fashola, used the opportunity to flag up the Cooperative Housing Development Scheme for the Northeast, aimed at making housing more affordable and accessible to all Nigerians. Preoccupied policy trust of his administration, and therefore thanked the federal government for choosing Gombe State as the pilot state for the flag-up of the Cooperative Housing Development Scheme.
We here are ready to key into whatever program you come with, so that we shall project and advance the cause of our people and take the entire
unit comprised of 62 units of 3-bedroom detached bungalow and 82 units of 2-bedroom detached bungalows. Zara Umar Adam, NTA News.
Government area of the state have thwarted a planned criminal attack on the peaceful town by some Boko Haram terrorists. The terrorists besieged the town in about 7 gun trucks and a number of motorcycles, setting some buildings ablaze and causing unrest within the community. Instinctively, the gallant troops mobilized and intercepted the criminals' advance and engaged the marauding criminals, leading to the elimination of several of them, while others withdrew in disarray. Assistant Director, Army Public Relations, 23 Brigade Yola, Major Haruna Mohammed Sani, in a statement said following the successful repelling of the criminals, the Commander, 23 Armored Brigade, Brigadier General Sani Gambo Mohammed, visited the gallant troops in Garkida and toured the location of the attack for an on-the-spot assessment. You're still on to the news on NTA International. We'll take a quick break now. More stories when we return. Stay with us.
That That channel where you watch just now don't waka, no panic.
Can say me no panic.
You go do it by yourself like ABC. Oh yeah, press the menu button on top your remote. Scroll up and down till you see Information Central. Then press OK.
Press OK.
Check the signal strength and quality. If the signal strength and quality pass 70, make you press the exit button, go back. Go advanced options, then choose installation, then go to reset and press OK.
Yeah, press OK.
Wow, now you self fit catch all those channels will be one miss road by yourself. Yes, make your group for no loss. You see as I do am, Abi?
And I see as I do am.
Go TV, live it, love it.
And I see as we do am.
NTA International News. Africa as it is.
Thanks for remaining with us. Now, the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency, NAMA, has inaugurated its newly installed Category 3 Instrument Landing System, ILS, at runway 18 right at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, as well as runway 22 at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Also inaugurated is the newly installed Doppler Very High Frequency Omnidirectional Radio Ranger, DVOR, in Lagos. This is in addition to the routine flight calibration which has been successfully carried out on runway 18 left in Lagos. A statement by Director Public Affairs of the Ministry of Aviation, James Odaudu, confirmed that the Managing Director of NAMA, Captain Fola Akinkuotu, disclosed that a notice to airmen, NOTAM, has been disseminated accordingly, with calibration of navigational aids in other locations across the country is in progress to ensure all navigational aids in Nigeria that are due for calibration are covered. Now to Lagos, and an articulated truck loaded with 40,000 litres of petrol has detached from its truck head while driving towards Berger. Although no spillage or injuries were recorded, the incident worsened traffic situation along the Odetola Bridge inward Berger. Director General, Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, however, confirmed that the gridlock has abated as transloading of the petroleum product into another truck has been concluded, while the truck itself has been removed from the road. Now for a review of some major stories around the world during the week, we now join Joyce Ometu for the World in 6 Days.
Many thanks for joining me on this segment of the news. We begin with South Sudan, where the country's former rebel leader, Riek Machar, was sworn in on Saturday as first vice president, sealing a peace deal aimed at ending 6 years of civil war. President Salva Kiir witnessed the moment at a ceremony held in the State House in the capital, Juba. It is hoped that the new unity government will bring an end to the conflict that has killed about 400,000 people and displaced millions. Meanwhile, Tunisia is set to hold a confidence vote on a new government February 26. This was contained in a statement released by Tunisia's parliament during the week after 4 months of political crisis. The parliament announced the date for the vote on Prime Minister Elias Fakhfakh's government after the premier unveiled a revised cabinet lineup late Wednesday. An earlier version of the list had been rejected by the Islamic-inspired party Ennahda, which won the most seats in October's legislative election but fell far short of a majority in 217-seat assembly. Still talking elections, on Friday, Iranians voted in the country's 11th parliamentary election, seen as a test for the popularity of President Hassan Rouhani's reformist moderate camp, as hardliners were expected to make gains. Iranian authorities are yet to announce the result for the February 21st election, but some early results announced by the Ministry of Interior indicated that the loyalists to Khamenei were set for gains. More than 7,000 candidates were disqualified, including dozens of current members of parliament. Moving on, the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo during the week visited Africa for the first time since his nearly 2 years in office. Mr. Pompeo's visit aimed at promoting American investment and counter China's influence on the African continent while calming concerns over planned reduction of U.S. troops. His first stop was Senegal, then Angola, where he praised the country's anti-corruption fight. Ethiopia was the last point of his tour of the 3 African countries. His talks with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed focused on security concerns and the country's disputes with Egypt over the construction of a huge dam on the River Nile. In other news, Lesotho's police said Prime Minister Thomas Thabane is to be charged with the murder of his estranged wife, Lipolelo Thabane, who was killed in 2017. His current wife, Messiah Thabane, was also charged with the murder. Thomas Thabane during the week denied reports that he fled to South Africa after he failed to appear in court to face charges for killing his estranged wife. His office said he went there for a medical checkup instead, and that he plans to appear before the court when he returns from South Africa, as he respects the rule of law. Talking security now, European foreign ministers met in Brussels during the week and agreed to a new naval and air mission to stop more arms from reaching warring factions in Libya. The mission targets the eastern Mediterranean, where there are reports of arms trafficking. The move came after Austria lifted its veto on sea patrols arising from concerns that they could lead to an increase in migrants to Europe. And finally, roughly 600 passengers left the Diamond Princess cruise ship in Yokohama, Japan on Wednesday as the controversial ship-wide coronavirus quarantine finally began to wind down. All of those passengers had been tested for the COVID-19 disease by the Japanese Health Ministry. At least 621 passengers and crew on the Diamond Princess were infected by the COVID-19 virus. The ship was carrying 3,700 people in total. And also during the week, director of one of the leading hospitals in Wuhan died from the virus. And those were some of the stories that made headlines on the global scene during the week. Thanks for watching. I am Joyce Umitu.
Thanks, Joyce, for that World in 6 Days review. And let's remain with the foreign scene as the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has commended South Sudan's parties to the revitalized peace agreement for the significant achievements in the implementation of the revitalized agreement on the resolution of conflict in South Sudan. A statement by the spokesman for the UN chief said the Secretary General applauds regional and international efforts that contributed to the result. Meanwhile, the United States has urged South Sudan President Salva Kiir Mayardit and First Vice President Dr. Riek Machar Teni to work hard to deliver peace to the war-ravaged nation. This comes after Kiir appointed Machar as First Vice President in accordance with the revitalized peace agreement signed by the two men in September 2018. In another development, Italy has introduced extraordinary measures to tackle the spread of the biggest outbreak of the new coronavirus in Europe. Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte announced the emergency plans late as the number of cases rose to more than 100. The measures were imposed after 2 Italian citizens were confirmed to have died from the virus. A dozen towns in the north regions of Lombardy and Veneto have been effectively quarantined under the plan. Around 50,000 people from towns in 2 northern regions have been asked to stay at home by authorities. Mr. Conte said it would be now forbidden to enter or leave the outbreak areas unless special permission is granted. All schools and sports activities have been suspended in those areas, including several Serie A football matches due to take place on Sunday. And for latest in the world of sports, let's join Amanzi Marcus.